The British conquers half of the planet just for spices. Also British food. British food sucks, and I'm gonna tell you why. If you've been on the internet for a few years, you have probably seen memes about British cuisine and most likely have come to the conclusion that it's gotta be the worst food you've ever seen. I too thought this, and upon further investigation, I have found reasons why British cuisine has gone downhill in the last century. A lot of tragedy happened during World War II, and British cuisine is no exception to this. While the UK had devised a system to import food, Germany saw it as an opportunity to cut off their supplies in the Battle of Atlantic, and they strategized to attack shipping bound for Britain in an attempt for submission from their government. This severely restricted the British industry, and because of this, the Ministry of Food had to institute a system of rationing to the citizens. This had happened for a while during World War I, though the government was reluctant to control food markets then. In 1916, during the First World War, it became illegal to consume more than two courses while eating lunch in a public eating place and more than three at dinner. Fines were introduced to members of the public found feeding pigeons or stray animals. The basic ration of sugar, butter, or margarine, tea, jam, bacon, and meat came to about 1,680 calories. This was adjusted for vegetarians, children, and workers doing strenuous labor. And nursing programs for nursing mothers and young children were established by many local authorities. Even though it may have been argued that the population of British citizens' health improved under rationing, tuberculosis cases increased. And during the war, the average energy intake decreased only by 3%, while protein intake increased by 6%. Most of the hard rationing, however, is talked about more in the Second World War, especially due to rationing still going on nearly 10 years after World War II had ended, and it was likely that in some aspect it was stricter than during World War II. That means there was a whole generation stripped of common ingredients, which most likely, out of any other examples out there, led to the decline in British cuisine, and it was a big cause in why British food is the way it is today. Before we get to modern British cuisine, I want to jump back in time a little bit. With the Western exploration of the New World in 1492, the Columbia Exchange led to the arrival in Europe of many new foods. That includes refined sugar, the potato, the banana, chocolate, and beverages. With the arrival of new foods, they had also introduced their foods to the New World from the Old World that includes rice, wheat, sugarcane, and livestock. Developments of plant breeding also increased the number of fruits and vegetable varieties. Lots of food was introduced to Britain as they searched for it, like turkey in the 16th century, but its use for Christmas dinner, with Christmas pudding for dessert, was a 19th century innovation. Now, with British cuisine today, importations and ideas from North America, China, and India mostly impacted modern British cuisine as a result of post war immigration. Let's get the stereotypes out of the way and clarified first. Fish and chips and the full breakfast, along with other traditional British dishes, rose to prominence in the Victorian era, and while they have status in the culture, they may not be a large part of many people's diets nowadays. The Good Food Guide, written in the 1960s about the 1950s food in Britain, had called it out for being intolerable due to a shortage of real ingredients such as butter, cream, and meat. Going further in time, in the 1970s, the availability and range of good quality fresh products increased with the British population becoming more willing to vary its diet. Also, in the same decade, the English Tourist Board campaigned for restaurants to include more British historical and regional dishes to their menus. With that, in the 1980s, in the face of globalization, the style of cooking known as modern British cooking emerged in an effort to construct a national cuisine for the tourist industry. It was mostly inspired by culture foods they've been cooking and eating thus far, namely Mediterranean cuisine, Italian cuisine, Middle Eastern cuisine, and Asian cuisine. Started in the 1990s and continuing into the 2000s, a form of virtuous eclecticism emerged in discourse around British cuisine, arguing it could be distinguished by its apparently unique ability to draw from other cultures. This new style of cooking focused on garden and vegetables. Writing in the Daily Telegraph, Deborah Robertson has claimed that the 21st century has seen a revolution in British dining and now rivals that of France. In a 2021 survey by Mortar Research showed many people claim to never have eaten traditional favorites in Britain such as toad in a hole, spotted um Scotch egg, Black pudding, which sounds absolutely disgusting, bubble and squeak, and a minority of people they surveyed did not know these dishes even existed. Another survey from 2021, this time from YouGov, reported 87% of respondents claimed to be eating a plant-based diet. On top of that, more than a third of the respondents said they were considering or interested in becoming vegan. In 2023, government statistics on meat and fish consumption showed that British citizens were consuming the least amount of meat at home since record keeping began in 1974. So, why does British food suck? Internationally, British food tends to have this reputation of being terrible, bland, soggy, overcooked, and visually unappealing. As Britain's cuisine was strong before the mid 20th century, specifically the rationing during and after World War II, it has declined ever since. Now, onto some statistics of British cuisine, because why not? The most popular dish in Britain is Yorkshire pudding. 85% of British citizens say they like it. It's closely followed by Sunday roast and fish and chips. Now, the least popular food in Britain sounds like it should be the worst. Jellied eels. Only 6% of British citizens who've tried it liked it. Like, those look absolutely disgusting. Full English breakfast recently ranked number one in the most popular British dishes Q3 2023 by YouGov polls with an 87% popularity rate, and it is the national dish of the UK. Scones and Victorian sponge cake are the most popular sweet foods, while deep fried Mars bars are the least popular. Now, it may just me being American, but deep fried Mars bars sounds absolutely delicious, though I haven't actually eaten a Mars bar, so I'm not entirely sure. Also, curries are a large part in British cuisine as well. British curries are usually thicker and sweeter than their Indian counterparts. A key ingredient to British curry is curry powder, a British concoction of spices. Also, you may be asking, why do British call things that aren't pudding pudding? Well, we think of more of a soupy sweet dessert when we hear the word pudding. Foods like Yorkshire pudding and black pudding get their name because of what the term meant centuries ago. Puddings were a sausage like meal that was not water based and was solid.